What's up, everybody? It's your girl Joe. You know why we're here, so let's get right into it. P Valley Season 2, Episode 5. It's basically Keyshawn's story. So you see a lot of like flashbacks back and forth. It goes back to how her and Derek met and like the things that they kind of been through and like how it all got started. And it gives you a different perspective because it shows you is why she goes so hard for Derek and like why she kind of put up with some of the things that she put up with. It takes place like it's like present day, past. It like kind of bounces back and forth between the two, but it basically tells you how they met. They met in school. It tells you a little history about, sometimes your home life like have like a kind of effect on you to how you like go about your like as you're getting older. So basically like her mom and dad was married. Her mom and dad was on this trip on a plane, and then like her stepmother was the flight attendant, and she served them drinks or whatever. And then like they kind of went off through there. So it lets you know that Keyshawn came from like her dad pretty much had like money, so like money wasn't a thing at first. Money wasn't a thing. So she also had pretty much like a Cinderella story to where it was like the evil stepmother who had the two daughters, and she treated the two daughters well, and she tried to kind of treated Keyshawn like a maid. You don't really see her mom. She's just mentioned briefly when the stepdaughter's asking the stepmother, oh, how did y'all meet? And she was like, oh, well, I was a flight attendant and I saw him and I served him drinks, and everything else just happened pretty fast. Like it just took off from there. And Keyshawn is like, because her dad is like never around. And then Keyshawn is just like, yeah, but she forgot to tell you about the fact that she served my mom drinks first. So it just kind of is like this side chick turn wife situation. So that's like a little back. It shows you like that. It shows like when she first met Derek and how like he was like a senior and he had a scholarship and he came from money as well. And like one day like the football players were talking about Keyshawn and he kind of like took up for her, and it just kind of took off from there. But it also shows you clips as to where like when Keyshawn got pregnant and like Derek family kind of like, first of all, his dad was clearly racist because it's a point in where it talks about how his dad like beat him up kind of like because he didn't really like the fact of him being with Keyshawn, and then she got pregnant and then like he got disowned. So in one of the flashbacks it kind of shows where Keyshawn is like obviously like really pregnant because she was really tiny. She's like laying on the couch, and Derek is showing some clothes that his mom gave, and she was like, oh yeah. He was like, oh, she's excited, or I think she said they was ugly or something like that. And then he was like, my mom is trying. She was like, yeah, she's trying now. And then that night was like kind of like the tipping point where like that was the first time the DV started. So like he goes off. He was like, it's your fault. You trapped me. It's your fault. I got this like just going off, like just going ham on her. And then that was the first she tried to go back home to her dad's house, and the stepmama answers the door and it's like, you gotta go, like basically like you can't stay here, you gotta go back. And she was like, well, what does my dad think about that? And the stepmom was like, well, he agrees with me. So like she basically shut the door in her face, so she had nowhere else to go but back to Derek. So it kind of shows you like this whole thing where to like he quote unquote saved her in the beginning from like the whole school situation, and then it was like she had nowhere else to go. So, and then I guess you could say that's where like the manipulation started as to like really blaming her. So she just felt like she had to be there because like it was her fault, you know how some women typically do. So it also shows like in a present day, it just shows like little different scenes, and that's where you see that scene where Rome comes in and was like, oh, I got y'all rooms or whatever. And then, oh, Keyshawn, you have this performance, but then told Little Murder and them that they couldn't go. It was just Keyshawn. It was Mississippi night. And that's also where when she's in the club by herself, where you kind of see a little bit before that, you see Jocelyn Hernandez, you see Jessica Dime, you see Miami Tip, you see Gigi McGuire, and it's like it's just Jocelyn who actually gets up on the stage a little bit, and because she's like does like a little 1-2, and then she introduces my Mississippi, and then like the rest of the girls are just kind of around. So it's like this OG moment, because you know there was OGs in the Dixon or whatever. So that happened, but yeah, going back to like the little clip they put out, that's, of course, you know, Big T went off. It's like, we don't need your charity or whatever. And then he like storms out, and then like Murder goes behind him like to try to calm him down. And then Keyshawn hit Wody and was like, you think they messing around or whatever? And then Wody is like, yeah, I think so. But it's like, just because, you know, Wody and Keyshawn, like, they know that whole Little Murder situation. So she like just kind of, you know, she got him real quick or whatever. So anyway, Rome was like, well, I ain't finna do this, Keyshawn, when you get ready to come up to my room. So she does exactly that. But in the meantime, like before this had happened, like Rome had put her in this blonde wig, and then like once Rome leaves, and it's just Keyshawn, and she's going through like the rack of clothes or whatever in her sleep. And Wody just looks up at her, and she was like, what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to go up there and get your keys. It's going to be fine. And he was like, nah, I don't like the hair. And then she just kind of paused for a moment. But anyway, so they kind of, what happens? So then it's like another flashback, because like it really flashes back and forth, and it's like the whole, all that stuff I just told you. She goes up to Rome's room, and when she gets up there, he's like in the little robe, the little same Versace robe that you can get on AliExpress for $79.99. But anyway, and he's just kind of in the thing, and he goes and he tells her, he was like, yeah, the wig deal, it fell through, but it's okay. I got you this shoe deal. And she was like, looking at the shoe, and it was like a dancer's shoe. So like she was like, yeah, but that's only 3% of the population. Like the wig deal would have been better, because like it could have reached everybody. And he was like, yeah, but just try it, just put it on. I bet it'll go real good with your outfit. So she tries the shoes on, and then she walks into the bathroom, and like she's showing her floss. So she was like, yeah, it looks good. She turns around, and he's sitting there with his robe up and with his stuff out. And she was like, yo, what you doing? Cover up. And basically, he does exactly what I said in the early video. I said, I've been saying that Rome wanted Keyshawn. And I've been saying that he wanted to separate Keyshawn away from Little Murder, which is kind of what he was doing, because he was like, nah, y'all can't go. This is just Mississippi. But it's like, even if they wasn't going to be performing, like they could have still went to support her, but he didn't want them to go at all. So like he's standing there with, now P Valley, y'all is really showing the meat this season. I'm gonna just go ahead and put that out there. They is up on it, and that won't be, get back on topic. So like it's kind of like there's she was like, nah, I ain't finna do this. Like, they have like a little exchange back and forth, and then that's when he like, you know, he got that little habit. So he like goes into a range. It was like, all this stuff I done for you, blah, 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 or whatever. And then she was like, but wait a minute, yo, what you doing, da, da, da. And like, he like basically tries to force himself upon her, and then like, she like gets her knee, and she knees him in his junk or whatever, and then she like runs out. And then she's running, like she's bamming on the door, and that's when it like flashes back to when she was like bamming on her dad's door, because the first time that her and Derek had got into it or whatever, and it goes through that whole scene that I previously told you about her mom shutting the door. But this time, I was thinking she was going to Little Murder because that was like her dude or whatever. But actually she ran to Wodie's room. And before she had got away from Rome, he had like ripped part of her costume off, so like her breast was exposed. So like she's like banging on the door, and then like Woody, he opens the door. He was like, "Yo, what you doing? Come in. Like, why you look like this?" Like, and he like gives her a robe so that she can cover up or whatever. And she goes to sit down, and he was like, "Yo, what happened?" And she basically tell him what happened, and then like Woody just like, he just kind of sits there. So then, like I said, there's a whole bunch of flashbacks in between that. But eventually, Wody goes up to Rome's room, and he's having like this mad orgy just like all over everywhere. There's like people everywhere. I was like, that's the Hollywood stuff for you, you know? Just like people just like literally everywhere just having sex. So he goes, he was like, "Yo, let me holler at you." And he like, they make small talk, you know. And basically bro was like, "Yo, she tripping, it happened like that, da da da." But the thing that like when as soon as they got in the room, it was like two girls in it, like off to themselves. It was two girls, and he was like, "Yo, let me get the room." And before they even sat down, Woody was like, "Yo, I got something for you," which was like in a little bit, y'all know his habit. So he like put it down and like doing, you know, what you're supposed to cutting, making lines or whatever. So as he's doing that, he's like talking, making small talk, but then he was like, "But yo, why would she say that?" And you know, like stuff like that. Like, "My guy, I know you don't have to lie to me. Like, yo, just like tell me what happened." And he's like, just what is like looking at him like, yeah, because you know, like he real laid back. So then he was like, I guess he's like kind of sensed the tension in the air. So he was like, "Nah, you hit it first." So what Wody brought in was like on this side, and then like it was some that was already over here that was like already pre-lined up. So he goes over to the first line, covers his hand like this, and then like move the straws to like one of the ones on the end. And then so then he was like, "Yo," so I in his mind, like to make it look like he had took one that he just gave him, but he really didn't. So as you can tell, you know where this is going. So like he's like talking to him, and then all of a sudden like his throat is getting scratchy. He was like, "Yo, what's going on?" And he was like, "See, unlike other people, you have somebody that can like usher you into your final resting place." And he asked him, he was like, "How you want your funeral?" And he was like, "Yo, what?" And then like his vision's getting blurry, and he showed him like the pill bottle or whatever, and then he just like falls over it, and Wody gets up and just walks out, and like all of the people like rush into the room. They was like, "Yo, he's ODing, and Wody just calmly walks out. Wody a ride or die. I Jackson here. Oh, it's also important to know that as they're sitting out, even in the room, they're like, Ron was like, "Yo, I know about your guy," and talking about Little Murder. He was like, "What you talking about?" He was like, he know that, you know, basically he's gay. And he was like, "Nah, why would you say that?" Like, and then he had like a video on his phone. He was like, "I know all that it's just fake, and he not hard, and it's not her." Now, this is what I hate about straight men sometimes. They'll take the fact that a man is gay and be like, he's not hood or he's not what you pretend to be. Just because you're gay don't mean you're not hood. Just because you're not gay don't mean you won't pull a trigger, get in a fight. Like, I hate the fact that they put, like, it's like so much, like, if you're gay you can't be masculine, that's a lie. If you're gay you can't be into all types of stuff, that's a lie. Like, what people choose to do in their bed has nothing to do with who they are as a person. And then he was like, I could tell by how, like, when he was kissing Keyshawn, he didn't even like that. Okay, what? So what? He preferred butt over the cat. That don't mean he was still He was still in the hood. He was still selling narcotics. He was still that person. Like, I just hate the fact that, like, okay, I'm going on a tangent. Anyway, but yeah, he was like, he not what he pretend to be. Okay, so what? He don't like females. So, but anyway, so and Wally do mention it to Keyshawn. He was like, yo, he got some kind of video, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. And that's basically pretty much what happened. So, like I said, it basically gives you like this whole, it's like Keyshawn's story, and it gives you like that little look into, like, everybody's like, lead there. But she is so trauma bonded to that man. Like, her dad left her mom and married a side chick. And the side chick treated her bad. However, the mom, I thought it was interesting how in one of the flashbacks, of course, her daughters got to go to prom, but Keyshawn couldn't. And so, like, she's taking pictures of her daughters, and then, like, Derek shows up. He has the dress, he has the shoes, he has all of this, and they go to prom. They have a wonderful time. And then she walks back in the house at the prom, and the mom is like sitting in the dark, and she looks at her and she was like, be careful how you let them make you their Barbie doll, or dress you up like their Barbie doll, because one day you will be replaced or whatever. And it kind of gave you like that little similarity about how Keyshawn's dad did her, but it was like you was the side chick and you knew he was married, and you gonna serve his wife a drink and then him, and then you didn't think, like, what did you think you were gonna be? That's funny. I don't know why people think that. Oh, I'm different. He's not. You can be different, but this is the same crazy. If he did it this one, it's a good chance it's gonna get done again, and then you're gonna be sad and want pity. But it's too late. But anyway, that's basically it. So yeah, and I'm glad that they showed like everything, and how like his family dishonor, how like that whole struggle, like even with the, and it was like really jacked up. But she should have seen his temper early on, but it was still like that whole Captain Save the Hoe, even though she wasn't really a hoe. But like how the football players, like, it was two football players that said something to Keyshawn, and it was like downing her or whatever, and then he was like, yo, chill out, don't do all that. Then he was like, well, what you gonna do? Then he beat up one football player, and then two more grabbed him, and then like one was something like this, he kicked that one and got away. He should have seen the temperature and then went back to kicking out the ass. So I mean, but when you see something like that, you know, it's like, ooh, technically he beat them up for me. So yeah, what's the whole thing? A whole lot. But it definitely gives you an insight. Like I said, it's definitely Keyshawn's story. And I think if you have ever written in the comments, she dumb, you need to leave him, you need to do all this stuff, half of y'all do the same stuff that she do, and haven't went through half of the stuff she went through with Derek. So it is what it is. So like I said, I encourage everybody to watch it, because it's definitely giving you insight. Oh, and it's narrated the whole time by Uncle Clifford, so that's kind of good too. You don't go, and just so you know, you don't go to the paint in this episode, but like I said, it's more of a Keyshawn story. And I just feel bad for her, because like everybody just wants to use her. Like I said this in one of my other recaps. I was like, people really just want to use this girl, and it is so. I think her and Woody gonna get together. Basically, he kind of halfway killed a man for her. I mean, you know, her was probably a little murder too, but, and that's his talent. But it was just, I don't know. It was just the way he just kind of looked up at her, like when she put the blonde wig on. He was like, I don't like the hair. It was like, that's not you. You know, that's not you. That's not you. Yeah, so kind of like, don't let that nigga change you. So. It was cute. I think that's my predictions. They will get together. Oh, before I go, after all of that happened with Rome, she goes back to Bodhi, and she goes back to Bodhi's room. I almost forgot this part. Very important detail. She goes back to Bodhi's room, and she was like, I just want to go home. So she ends up going home. Yeah. She ends up going home. When she gets home, he was like, now, granted, Rome had was like, yo, I done run it past your dude that we gonna do like another 12 cities, and he was fine with it. So she gets home, and obviously he was like, well, what are you doing here? You're supposed to do another 12 cities, and she was kind of like, well, I just want to come home, or something like that, she said. So she notices that one of her kids, like something's wrong with his arm, kind of like. So she takes him to the doctor, and once she take him to the doctor, like, they lift up his shirt, and it's very apparent that the abuse that she had been suffering has now been transferred to her child. So she gets back home, she puts all the kids in the room, and he's getting ready for another job interview. And she was like, what did you do? And he was like, what are you talking about? I can't do this right now. Get out my face. Like, I'm getting ready to go on the job. She was like, you ain't gonna get it no way. She just told him, you ain't gonna get it. And he was just like, what are you talking about? And she was like, his arm, I think he had like something was fractured or something like that. Like, she was like, you can hit me all day, but you cannot hit my kids. And he was like, you haven't been here in 2 weeks. You're not going to tell me how to discipline my kid. And she's like going on and on and on. And he was like, you better get out of my face. You better stop, go somewhere, da da da. And then, of course, like, you know what came next. And like, he's dragging her. First he hit her, and she's like bleeding all over the place, and then he like drug her to the kitchen, and he threw up against the wall, and he was previously ironing his shirt, so he picks up an iron to put it to her face, and she was like, please, not my face, you can put it anywhere, just not my face. And he was like just begging her. And it kind of goes back to earlier in season 1 when she came in and she was like all busted up. Uncle Clifford told her, this is your real money maker. You don't let nobody mess with that. And that's when she was like kind of begging, like, not my face, not my face. You can put it anywhere else, but not my face. And like, he just kind of drops it. And which I really feel like between what she just went through with being on the road, and it was like the way she said it, I was like, damn, she really might be ready to like kick rocks, because she was like, you. Like, she can't, now she really can't leave her house. She can't leave him with him because he is going to do it again. Like, it's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, it's going to happen again. So she was like, yeah, just like basically like, and I just thought, I was like, dang. So now and the thing about it is, he was like, he just won't stop crying. But it's like, he's used to being around his mommy, like he's getting used to it, and you don't have no patience, and you probably abusing him every chance you get. But and then he made the comment, well, that's what my dad did. Well, we see how well you turned out, sir. And she was trying to tell him, like, you're better than him, you da 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 da. Do you really want to compare out like your daddy is racist and kicked you out because you, okay. And on that thought, I gotta go. Follow me on Instagram, cherrygurljo, spelled with the U, not an I, because the correct way of spelling girl was already taken. TikTok, follow me on that, cherrygurljo1. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this episode of P-Valley. If you watched it, if you have not, go find a streaming service and watch it. Even if you don't got it, get stars. I think it's like $6.99. I don't know. $9.99, something. I don't remember. Anyway, watch it. And if you, like I said, if you ever wrote anything bad about Keyshawn, I definitely need for you to go watch this, because it lets you know her story. Alright? Love you.